welcome back to the Dr. Melissa Show. This is an episode related to the happiness segment that we've been doing relating to dating and relationships. So this time we're actually talking about a couple questions that psychologist Arthur Aron came up with to promote mental intimacy. These questions were designed to be personal, and they're supposed to break down barriers to foster closeness. So on an average date, people usually tend to discuss common things like the news or hobbies or what they're doing at work, friends, family, current events, but not really deeper questions that carry a lot of significance in a person's life. So the psychologist, when he came up with these questions, he wanted to kind of distinguish the difference between questions that you commonly would talk about versus questions that encourage mutual vulnerability. And he feels that vulnerability fosters a deeper understanding and closeness with the person you're sharing with and conversing with. So we're going to do a couple segments on this one with social experiment by inviting different couples on the show in various stages of their relationship and see how these questions can effectively improve their communication, compassion, and love for each other. So the first couple that we invited on our show is Karen and Bob. And they're representing newlyweds because they've been married for under 2 years. We're going to go over some of the questions and see how they kind of talk to each other about it and how they feel afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead, and then I'm going to start with questions, and then you guys can kind of jump in whenever you want. So the first question is, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want to have as a dinner guest?
Past or current?
Anybody.
It's
basically how you would tell Karen about yourself. Who would you want to eat dinner with?
You want to go first? You want me to?
I can. I said Martin Luther King just because I think he was revolutionary, wise, inspiring, and I have a lot of respect for how he presented things and what he tried to do and got cut off a little bit too soon.
Mm-hmm. I like his quote, I have a dream instead of I have a plan. Mm-hmm. Because dream is inspiring and plan is, okay, here's an action, and I think, people kind of relate to him in that way. And then who would you want to eat dinner with?
Well, since you made it a little bit more relationship oriented, I think I'll change from something similar to, there's somebody Karen knows named Carolyn Resnick, probably one of the most unique people in the world. She lived with wild horses and is an expert on something that Karen's interested in. So I think dinner with her would be extremely interesting because when she's gone, I'm not sure there's ever going to be anybody like her again. So that would be, I think, a really interesting dinner and great conversation.
And it'll help bring you closer to Karen, too.
Absolutely.
Now
learning opportunity.
Yes. So the next question is, would you like to be famous in what way?
Hopefully it isn't the wrong answer, but for me, I would say no, because there's too much baggage that comes with being famous.
Yeah. It's just you don't get a lot of privacy. You kind of give that up.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about it?
I said no also. I said I didn't want to be famous. That's not appealing to me. But I did say I wanted to be impactful somewhere, make a difference, that kind of thing.
But maybe not give up your privacy. So you don't want to be like chased by the paparazzi all the time.
Right.
The next question is, before making a phone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say and why?
Sometimes, if it's a significant call and you have to keep it concise, I'd say yes. Most of the time, I'm probably too lazy to do that and just get started.
Just call and see where the conversation goes. How about you?
I'll give it thought. If it's something real uncomfortable and touchy and could be mistaken or trying to clear something, then I might really kind of process it through. Yeah. I don't know that I'd role play it, but yeah.
I think yeah, if it kind of depends on the purpose of the phone call, right?
Right.
And what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
The next question is, what would constitute a perfect day for you? What's an ideal perfect day? When you wake up, what do you want to have happen?
I like the day to start slow versus getting up and then just having some free time to make some choices and not have it real high demand like we typically operate now. And then for us, throw some horses in there. We've been doing a lot of horse training work, and it's very relaxing. Yeah.
So you don't want to be rushing all the time.
No.
You want to have just some time to kind of breathe.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it would just be relaxing in the backyard on a sunny day, nice, comfortable, light breeze with family, the animals around, and no chores pressing to be done. And just enjoy the view we have out our backyard and relax.
So both of you don't like stress in that day. Stress is not welcome.
Exactly.
Yes. Get enough of that already.
That's right.
When did you last sing to yourself or to someone else? Do you sing?
Well, I have a horrible, and I mean, not exaggerating, horrible voice. However, we were at a birthday party a couple years ago up in Pilot Point doing some karaoke, and I did a terrible rendition of my favorite song, which is Get Over It by the Eagles. And it was terrible.
But you had fun.
It was fun.
What about you?
Oh, God. Actually, a few days ago, I was out in the barn, and the wild Mustang that we adopted is called Ado, and I was singing to her that Ado, a deer, that
I
song.
remember hearing that.
Yeah. And I don't usually sing, but
That's how you
it was
connect.
a nice day, yeah.
Connect
She
with your
kinda went.
animals. If you were to live to the age 90, but to retain either the mind or the body of a 30-year-old, what would you want? You want the body of the 30-year-old up until you're 90, or the mind of a 30-year-old up until you're 90?
Do you lose the other one if you keep the...
The other one starts aging, yeah, I would say.
I was originally going to cop out and say I'm taking half and half, and I'd take both at 60 and keep that.
Until you're 90, yeah.
But I thought about it, and I keep the body of a 30-year-old because the mind, you're supposed to get wiser, and I'd like to have the body of a 30-year-old knowing what I know now.
Okay.
It was a little different than my
It gives you
original
more
thought.
freedom. You can probably do a lot more physically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. It really is. Because I was torn. I mean, I wanted to say body. But if
Yeah.
you don't have a sound mind, So I like Bob's answer.
So, but see, like, sometimes when people age, like, you do start forgetting things and you might have more mental blocks as you age too, you
Yeah,
know?
you do.
So that's the risk you're taking if you take the body.
But your dad's a good example of somebody that made it to 90 and his mind was fine.
Yeah, 90.
And body.
Yeah, he's amazing. Well, you know him.
Yeah.
He was the
Norman.
best dancer at our wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys will look young, but just be wise is what
Right.
you want. Okay. Name 3 things you and your partner appear to have in common. What are 3 things that you think you have in common with your partner?
I think there's a lot more than 3, but I think
3 top ones?
Yeah. I think one would be we try and remind each other to be grateful. We place a high value on honesty, and we tend to be pretty focused sometimes, working hard.
Concentrate.
And if the other one doesn't remind one of us to call it quits, we could just keep right on plowing forward.
It's true.
Yeah. Like keep it in perspective kind of thing.
Exactly.
Just relax. What do you think you have in common with him?
I would say we think the same on a lot of different levels. So just really kind of similar thinking, which is really nice. And then similar values and similar interests. Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, you guys did say you like the relaxing atmosphere. That was your favorite ideal day. So talking about that, the next question is, for what in your life do you feel most grateful?
Well, for me, it's enjoying family life after years, many years of being single. I enjoyed my life, had fun, really no complaints, but this is better.
So you like the companionship and the family surrounding.
Absolutely.
What's the most grateful thing for you?
Having a really healthy relationship.
To have the support, because
The
you've
sup-
been on your own for some time too.
Right.
So you both are grateful for what you've been missing for a while too. If you could change about anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
Well,
Do-
for me, we were kind of in that traditional family and probably a little bit more open communication instead of the children are meant to be seen, not heard type.
Yeah, like the rigid, like parents and you're the kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably would have helped me
Express.
learn sooner what I've taken a lot of years to learn.
Yeah, it kind of held you back, like in terms of communication, being able to express your feelings, kind of thing.
Exactly.
What about for you?
I had a hard time with that one because I had really good upbringing and good memories of that. And it's kind of two-sided because, I mean, there was some real hard drive and goals and expectations, maybe even a touch of perfectionism. But there was also, it was supported with, you can do whatever you want to do. And whatever you want to achieve, you can do it. And you can get it. And you can have it. And so it was very empowering, too. So, but maybe tone it down just a tad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of thing.
So you appreciate the support you got and the kind of believing in you, but you kind of wanted just to be a kid, too.
Right.
Okay. Take a couple minutes and tell your partner your life story in as much detail as possible. This is kind of an open-ended question. Kind of just, this is who I am. As if you, I guess, never met each other or something.
You want to start?
You go ahead.
Well, I was born in Pennsylvania. My parents were from Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. We lived there for a few years and moved to Minnesota, which you've got some Minnesota background, obviously. I found out at my dad's funeral that my mom hated it there and told him, get me out of here or else, and then we moved to Virginia. I essentially grew up in Virginia, went to school there. We lived in a farmhouse for a few years till we built our own home, so we grew up hiking across fields and building forts in the treed areas and dodging bulls and cows out in the field. No cell phones back then, so we kind of figured out how to work our way back home without having a tether somewhere on us. Went to school, thought I was going to be an architect, ended up an engineer, and went to Tennessee for a few years. Dated a girl for 5 years in college, thought we were going to get married. That didn't work out, so I worked in Tennessee, then went to Ohio, told them I'd only be there 3 years, ended up 17. Didn't really date a whole lot, but had a lot of fun, had a lot of good friends. I wouldn't call where we lived the garden spot of the U.S., but it was a little bit smaller community and kind of fun. Then changed jobs and ended up in Seattle for 4 years and ended up in Texas, a place that I literally, and this is a quote, I visited one time in the summer and I went back to Ohio and told my friends, nice place to visit. I'd never live in that hellhole. 8 years later, I moved there, but it grows on you pretty quick, and obviously it's worked out for the best. So I had a shy streak growing up. I was a twin. You have twins, and I was a twin. But, and actually, one thing college did for me, it taught me how to accept failure, so to speak, because I sort of grew up a little bit like you were saying with this perfectionism pressure. And being in rural Virginia, it was easy to sort of be a big fish in a small pond. You go to a big college with a lot of sharp people around you, and you're not quite as big a fish anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to accept failure, but to be honest with you, that was actually a good thing. I just didn't take things quite as serious. My first year, I studied out of fear. But Texas has been really good, and obviously running into you was an unexpected surprise, because I literally the year or two before, I had told my best friend from college, I'm probably not going to get married now. I dated a few folks off and on and been set up with some horrible blind dates, so I cut that out of the equation. So, and things happen naturally. I'm a big believer in just doing what you're interested in, being around people you like, who have similar interests, and then eventually you'll bump into somebody. Took a while, but it finally came true.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's my story in chronological order. Remember, I'm an engineer.
What about you?
Born in Minnesota, Scandinavian descent, and moved around a lot because my father was with Dayton Hudson Corporation, and he would open new stores. They were expanding at the time rapidly. So moved around a lot, learned how to kind of be adaptable to change and make new friends and new starts, and moved to Arizona and went to college there, major in psychology, minor in sociology, because I genuinely like people and see the good in them. And then moved to Manhattan and got into media and spent a lot of time, lived in Paris for about a year, and Zurich and Germany, and got to really see Europe well, and did that for about 5 years. And then tired of that, wanted to get into business, corporate, for something. It was different back then, you know. And started working for a company through 3 different acquisitions with the company I was with, became Nextel and did national corporate sales there. I had the twin girls and was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and then jumped back into advertising and sales. So always loved horses, have had them most of my life, and it just all keeps getting better. Met Bob, got married, and it all just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. If you could wake up tomorrow and have gained one quality or ability, what would it be? It doesn't say can't be superpower, so you can pick whatever.
I'd love to have a great singing voice,
Really?
because I can't sing a lick.
But you want to.
Oh, that'd be fun in social situations. Yeah.
So that's a superpower you want.
Oh,
is to be-
superpower.
No, I'm
Did-
just saying any quality ability. It could be a superpower.
Oh,
You can
that's
be
a-
invisible.
A little superficial, I guess. but-
Do you have?
Yeah, just kind of more relaxed, kind of go with the flow a little bit more, kind of thing.
The ability to kind of like control your like mood, or is that what you want? Like the ability to kind of just feel relaxed whenever you want to and not be controlled by your environment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say I'm going to add one. I gave you the superficial fun one.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to be able to live a healthy 100 years
The ability to kind of carry a healthy lifestyle.
for that long.
Yeah. If there's anything that you've dreamed of doing for a long time, what is it and why haven't you done it? Is it like singing for you or?
No, actually, no, but there's actually something that we just did.
Yeah, that was my answer too. Go ahead.
I wanted to learn how to sew for a long time. And back in the late 80s, I bought a pretty good sewing machine with the intent of being able to be self-sufficient. Not so much clothing, but I was into boating and wanted to be able to repair sails and make bags and all that. Tried to teach myself. That was a colossal failure. And then I lugged that sewing machine from Ohio to, well, Lima, Ohio to Dayton, Ohio to Seattle. And it had the moving stickers on it and never got used. And somewhere along the way, I told Karen that was something I'd like to know how to do or learn. So this year for a Christmas present, she bought me sewing lessons. So I actually learned how to do that, and it's been great. It literally is, it sounds crazy, but that's why I still had it. In fact, we had to oil up the machine. It hadn't been used or touched in so long, it barely moved, but it's working now.
So she listened to you and made it happen.
Yeah.
What about you?
I kind of, same thing, was able to realize something that was always important, and then Bob and I were able to share it together, where we, as I mentioned previously, adopted a wild horse that was their herd was in a BLM, Bureau of Land Management helicopter roundup, and then rescued. And I did this training with Carolyn Resnick at a wild horse sanctuary, Return to Freedom, and then worked riding with people that train wild horses, Angie and Seth Murray, and was able to ride her on the beach at Pismo Beach in California, which was always kind of on my bucket list. So there's a whole bunch of them wrapped into one that we were able to share and do last year, which was really neat.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
that was 2 seconds from never happening, because we were getting in the car to leave, saying goodbye as the sun was setting, and there was an intern out there at the horse sanctuary that said, "Oh, hey, have you seen a doe?" I thought she was talking about a deer. And apparently she knew what she was talking about, so we did a quick stop before we left to take a look at her, and that led to a whole bunch of things, and then she ends up in Texas.
And you guys fell in love with her.
I was,
Oh, yeah.
yes. I was literally reaching for the car door to get in the car and leave when that popped up.
That's almost like what you guys were saying before, that you want to be able to just kind of let go and be relaxed and go with the flow sometimes, and that's definitely an example of you just letting it happen.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What do you value most in a friendship?
For me, it's respect. Because the respect, there's a lot that encompasses, including trust and integrity and honesty
And being dependable and things
Right.
like that.
Honesty was the word I was going to bring up, because when you're talking to somebody, if you're not getting an honest answer, you're not dealing with reality. So that just adds complications. It makes everything tougher.
What is your most treasured memory?
Well, for me, this may sound corny, I suppose. Our wedding down in Mexico, it had potential to be a disaster with the weather, and it ended up being perfect. We were lucky.
Or maybe the way you saw how it turned out, your perception of it
Well, they
made
had
it perfect.
forecast for 30-mile-an-hour winds and potential rain. Power went out, and it ended up being hardly any wind, gorgeous breeze, sunny, warm, not too hot. It was just shocking almost. Because we landed there was some pretty heavy rain leading up to that day, but it was great.
What about you?
I guess I would have to say our twin girls, when they were young, and then particularly when they were young, probably. It's always good, but that was just a real special time.
When you were the stay-at-home mom,
Yes.
those are some of the best memories.
Mm-hmm.
The last question is, how do you feel about your relationship with your mother?
Going first?
I think I will. My mother was incredible. I really looked up to her, what she was able to accomplish, the kind of leadership that she had. A lot of respect for my mother.
My mom has a heart the size of Mount Rushmore. Actually, a smart woman. There were definite challenges with 3 boys, And with my dad, so there were 4 men, and she got away with murder. And I'm sure it was tough not having a daughter. So, like I said, there were a few challenges there. I really respect her big heart. And she was, earlier when I talked about a little bit of that perfectionism drive, I mean, she had some of that, and that was probably part of the motivation growing up, trying to please parents for me. And in particular her, because she definitely, I mean, she's got artistic capabilities, and as I said, pretty darn smart, very opinionated about things. So, but I would say relationship was up and down at times.
But you hold a lot of respect for her because she can hold her own with 4 men, apparently.
Yes. Although she does like to talk a long time on the phone.
So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for sharing your life with us. And how did that conversation kind of made you feel about each other, having just that quick little thing that we just did, the experiment of using those questions to open up some vulnerable topics?
That's fun. I thought it was fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're closer, that you feel more
Yeah, maybe a little. We've probably
already knew a lot of that stuff?
Yeah.
told each other a lot of this, and
Yes.
we're pretty good at just having nice casual conversations. And if we need to talk through something, we seem to be able to do that, and nobody gets too worked up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. And you guys are very relaxed around each other, and there's a lot of, like support and love that is just very obvious. So being open and honest and being vulnerable can lead to intimacy and understanding. This could be a great idea for any couples out there that have been married for over 20 years or just trying to get to know each other. So you can find these questions by Googling psychologist Arthur Aaron, 36 questions to fall in love. Thank you so much.
You're listening to RNCN, the digital destination for premium talk radio.